Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. So I've been thinking about the things I miss out on and the things that get forgotten for one reason or another. It happens to all of us, and sometimes it's hard to go back and find those things, or games while you're caught up with the latest Call of Duty or Madden release. Games that want to keep you on that hamster wheel of daily logins and battle passes. You spend so much time, and we won't even talk about the money, that it feels like you don't know where to start. You might not even know what you missed out on, and you don't want to waste more of your time looking for that next new thing. I find the best time for me to try something new is when I'm burnt out. When I spend all my time just staring at my Steam library or scrolling through YouTube looking for something to jump out at me instead of just playing anything. Here, I want to talk about a couple games I think you should try when you need something to try. Alright, so first up we've got Returnal, developed by Housemarque, which I think is an incredible game full of sci-fi. You might even go as far as to say light sci-fi horror vibes, but I do think this game does a really terrific job of blending its narrative with all the game gives you to do as far as managing the different puzzles the game puts in front of you, which are typically just platforming challenges, as well as the puzzle of its combat, which is incredibly fast paced, incredibly deadly, and really just goes to show their confidence in their roguelike chops. And this game is no doubt tough. This game has had me scratching my head a couple times, putting the controller down and coming back, trying again, probably failing again, and just continuing to bang my head against the wall because the narrative in this game is so intriguing and it's so unsettling and off-putting, and the world is so expertly designed, and the combat is tight and responsive and feels so good to play. If there was anything I could say negatively about the game, or anything that I would say maybe holds the game back, is the unlock system and the strictness of the roguelite elements to this do make this game incredibly challenging. That being said, the game does have a co-op mode, so you can always bring in a friend or matchmake to make some of the encounters a little bit easier, and the game does feel pretty fluid when playing with another person. I think this is a great game for anyone looking for a challenge and looking for something that takes familiar elements and presents them in a new, sometimes frustrating, sometimes genius ways, and are willing to meet at the game's terms. There are so many things I think this game gets right, and Returnal really is a game that is more than the sum of its parts. This game puts the combat in the driver's seat and intertwines that with a strong narrative that, for some, makes this a must-play. And if this game isn't for you, that's okay too. To wrap up this first one, I'd like to show you guys what you can expect when you play Returnal. Man, Sleeping Dogs is so much fun. I've played a bunch of open world games, and I've played some really good open world games, and I've played some pretty bad ones as well. Something Sleeping Dogs does better than a lot of the good open world games is the masterful and truly breathtaking detail that is put into Hong Kong. Developed by United Front Games, this game really is the whole burrito. The story of this game is dark and moody and just perfect, even 14 years after its initial launch. It kind of blows my mind that this game has the chops to hold up to a lot of the releases today, and for whatever reason, we just don't hear about it more. The amount of texture work and detail put into every person, street, market, and building really adds to the atmosphere and makes this game world feel alive. The combat takes the formula that the Arkham series built and turns it into a stylish and complex ballet of attacks, counters, and grabs. I might even go as far as to say that this game might even elevate some of the elements that the Batman games kind of lacked in, especially with its combat variety and depth. You know, I'm actually scared to talk about the story because I don't want to spoil a single thing. The story is so moody, it's so edgy and just seeped in that Breaking Bad era of shows that really kind of pushed the envelope and really took the medium to new heights, and I think Sleeping Dogs really benefits from that. While it might have some of the faults of the 7th generation of open world games, it does a pretty good job of keeping its collectibles tied to upgrades and keeps them in line with a side story or a main plot point. I will say that the driving is a decent piece of the whole package, and it is a little light or floaty at times, but more often than not it can cause a chuckle more than any legit frustration. I do think the game did a pretty decent job given when it came out to try and separate itself from some of the grays and brown of other 7th gen games, and for that we all thank you. One other small thing I would say is the gun handling in the game is a little odd. You know, I can't put my finger on what it is exactly, but not having a smaller, more precise aiming system kind of makes the gun handling feel like an afterthought and feels a bit unnecessary when you have some of the most badass melee combat in a game. So at the end of the day, it really is a tragedy that we will never get a sequel to this game, and even more of a tragedy is how many people played it. Personally, I don't think I can forgive myself for waiting till I was 30 to try it. We can all make up for that now, and with the definitive edition being the ultimate way to enjoy it, we can all start walking the road of forgiveness by playing a truly generational game. Alright, so last up we have Metal Eden. And Metal Eden is a real sleeper game. On the surface, it looks like a fast-paced FPS with tight controls, slick dystopian sci-fi visuals, and an arsenal of guns to make the bad guys go pop, splat, or blurp. It is those things, and it is similar to a lot of other games that have the same goal in mind. What makes Metal Eden interesting is how tight those mechanics are dialed in. I think what Doom Eternal accomplished was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it brought old school FPS games to the masses, and myself personally, I love the game. Couldn't get enough of it. Then you start to see how games come out that feel like they wanted to take a stab at that same style of game. It's so tough when you look at Metal Eden and you immediately start comparing it to Doom Eternal, a smaller game with a smaller budget, created by Raycon Games, the developers of Ruiner, which I would absolutely recommend. Maybe I'll make a video on that game before the sequel drops. But it doesn't matter. It isn't Doom Eternal. And while it tries to carve out its own niche within the genre with some really excellent story beats and a consistent narrative that is explained in the downtime between combat arenas, it does admittedly have a harder time carving its own path. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I loved Doom Eternal. Now I get to play a game by people who also loved Doom Eternal and can actually make video games and express their take on that formula. Metal Eden absolutely has some combat distinctions, with larger enemies having a shield that needs to be depleted before they can take any real damage, and certain weapons, surprisingly enough, are better at taking out shields and others are better at that gooey flesh damage. So the puzzle of managing ammo for your shield popping weapons, on top of making sure you can really lay the smackdown when it pops, is engaging and solid. Not to be outdone though is the ability to rip cores out of the enemies and use their cold metallic hearts as a grenade to take out other enemies or absorb it and gain health have a super punch that deals insane amounts of damage to enemy shields. You'll constantly be playing the mental game of making sure you know where the big bad is, and where you can use smaller guys to help you in the fight, as well as excuses to deal some extra damage. I think Metal Eden is a testament to not needing to reinvent the wheel, and even using someone else's format for creating the wheels and putting your own touch with some shiny, spinny rims, or metal heart things in this case.
What kind of side effects?
It's prone to overload your system.
If you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll catch you guys next time.